Alright, so today we're working on a cylinder head from a 1999 Mazda Miata, also known as an NB1 cylinder head. What we're doing today is a valve guide seal replacement. This is just a head I'm putting on an engine I'm rebuilding for my NA that blew the motor up last summer. So I'm going through and freshening everything up. I went ahead and did some port work on the cylinder heads, as you can see there. Nothing crazy since it is staying naturally aspirated. I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm doing exhaust intake cam swap, and then this NB1 cylinder head is going on top of an NB2 short block, which will give me 10:5 to 1 or so compression ratio, so it'll make a few more horsepower than it used to as a NA8 engine. So I could see where somebody would complain about this job and say that it's a big pain in the neck, because in all reality it is on this engine. The bores for the lash caps actually make it pretty hard to get into here, into the valve guide to put the seal on top, which we will be doing here just now. And what I'm using is this pocket screwdriver. Let's see if I can show you. With a magnet on the end of it. This thing's not very big. I'm just going to get it to where it will try to magnetize on the spring on the end of the valve guide seal. This will take some patience to do since it wants to grab the side of the valve guide seal. So you want it like that. You're going to get it on top of the valve guide. You might even have to take a finger in there. And you're going to push down on it a little bit. Now another thing I like to do is I have an 11mm socket on an extension. I like to get in there, apply some pressure to it, try to walk it on top of the valve guide itself, and then a couple light taps of a hammer. Move the camera for this so I don't smack it. A couple light taps of a hammer, nothing crazy. You're not trying to break ball joints with this. You're just trying to get the valve guide seal positively seated on top of the valve guide like such. Alrighty, so that's actually the easy part of this job, in my personal opinion, is getting the valve guide seal on. The next hard part, or really the hardest part of the job, is getting the retainers and the locks back, the retainer and the locks back in without losing your sanity and going ballistic. Now, I found an easy way to do this. That's the whole reason I'm making this video, or at least I find it easy. You may not. It does take a little bit of patience. I know they make special tools for this. I believe Snap-on makes one that will hold your locks until you have everything in place. I don't have that. I've already invested a crap ton of money between all the tool guys back when I was a mechanic, so I try to avoid that stuff where I can. Now, a note here before you go do this job: put some lubricant. I use some Royal Purple break-in oil to go on the inside where, let me actually grab a valve guide seal. It'll make a little more sense if I can show you. You want to get some lubricant in here. You can use grease, motor oil, whatever. You just want that to slide over the valve guide without tearing the seal or anything. That's just a good precaution. And then you put the valve in. This is also covered with the same oil on the stem, so that it'll actually slide through the valve guide seal without trying to rip it out. Probably not such a big issue with these Viton seals that the Miata uses. I'm used to doing, old Chrysler products with the umbrella seals that generally suck if you don't have any kind of lubricant. They'll always push the valve guide seal off. So there we go. Valve is in the head. Seal is on the valve stem. Our next step is I have this nice Chinesium valve spring compressor fresh off Amazon. Bought it just for this job. I'm going to back up and so you guys can watch me put the compressor on here. Hopefully the camera will, I don't know if it's going to refocus itself. That's kind of dumb, but bear with me for a second. Let me get this actually set up on here. Drop the spring on, drop the retainer on the spring. Get the compressor on the head of the valve in the back. Take the slack out of it. It does take quite a bit of slack to get around the Miata head, just because there's a lot of meat to go around, unlike a Chrysler small block head or something where it'd be surprisingly easy to get a valve spring compressor on top of that. me get some preload on the spring here. Again, bear with me. I apologize. It looks like my camera's not even attempting to focus, so we'll deal with that here momentarily in a minute. Alright, now the fun part's going to be trying to show you what all is going on here, so I will try to find the best angle we can. Ignore my carburetor cleaner there. And get me where I'm trying to go here. Ah, boy. Let's try this angle. There we go. Alright. Now it's kind of dark, which is mostly irritating to me. But I believe if you pay kind of close attention, you'll be able to see what's going on here. I'm going to rotate this, that guy on the spring compressor. Let's see. That looks a little better. Okay. So, to get the locks for the retainer in, this is another pocket screwdriver. This one has a flat tip on it. It doesn't have a magnet on the end of it. This one's for valve stem core tool, but that's not really necessary information for this. But really ideal to have one of these pocket screwdrivers or a very skinny, probably 2.5, 3 inch long fine flat blade screwdriver. And then this is axle grease, actually. Ford, Lincoln, Mercury axle grease. Not that that's, I wouldn't use that if I didn't have it laying around. I'd have thrown it in the trash, because Ford, Lincoln, Mercury stuff, I mean, motorcraft parts are good, but I just not a big Ford guy. Anywho, grab a pair of locks here. Make sure they're clean. All right. So what you're gonna do? There's our retainer. You're gonna grab a little bit of grease on the end of your flat blade screwdriver. About that much or so. A little more, a little less, doesn't make that big of a difference. You want to put it on the inside, or the groove side of that retainer. And then leave a little bit on the end of the screwdriver as I drop it, trying to show you how to actually do it. On the round side here, you're going to use the stiction of the grease to hold the retainer on, like so. And then you'll have to ignore how shaky my hand is. It's about probably 35 degrees in my garage today. Slide it in there, and then you'll get it on the groove and push it in with the groove, or push it in on the groove, and there you go. There's one lock in there. Then spin it around. If you do choose to spin it on the edge like I'm doing right now, be careful, because it will try to push itself off a little bit. Just push it back on with the flat part of the screwdriver. Time for the second lock here. Again, applying grease inside the groove, and then using the stiction of the leftover grease to hold on the flat blade screwdriver. It's kind of magic, really, or science. Then again, get it in there. There you go. Push dry on. Both the locks are in for the retainer, which the first time I did that, it probably, until I figured out or decided to go with the grease trick, I was trying to use magnets and all kinds of other stuff. Made it a huge headache. The little bit of grease ended up saving me a ton of time. I think it probably took me 25 minutes to get my first valve spring assembly reinstalled and good to go. And then you saw how quick that was just to do it with a little bit of grease. So all you do now is unload your spring compressor. The only thing you need to note at this point is to be careful and watch that retainer, because if you get it, this valve spring compressor is kind of loose in this lifter bore, which is okay. I'm fine with that, because it means it won't beat up the lifter bore or anything. You don't want that, because then probably have engine failure. It's going to lock that lash cap in place and cause a bunch of problems to either eat up the camshaft or hang a valve open, which really will just lose compression. These are not interference engines. But when you unload it, just make sure to, you probably won't be able to see anything here because I don't have very good light on this, which I apologize for. Anyways, I'll just stop the video here. Just make note that you watch that bore in the retainer as you're unscrewing your valve spring compressor so it doesn't push them off, because then you have to start more or less back over, re-stick them, and it's a whole pain in the neck. But hopefully that helps you if you are doing a valve guide seal job on your Miata or head. I have no reason to believe that this wouldn't be doable on the car, with the exception of you're going to need a different valve spring compressor since this is an off-the-head model. Somebody makes a pretty nice, shiny anodized billet one for like 90 some odd dollars on Amazon, or maybe it's 89. But I've seen some that will like bridge over the cam caps that are universal and stuff. I don't know how much I trust those. I thought about buying one, but ended up with this unit instead. So, but off the car, this is the way to do it. Or if you have access to the if you are able to compress the valve spring when you're replacing it, which you'll have to replace the valve guide seals. At least now, I don't know, hopefully this saves you some money. You don't have to go out and buy a special tool. All it takes is one of these pocket screwdrivers, which if you are a mechanic, you probably have a whole cup full of these somewhere, or if you have a mechanic buddy, he's probably got several, he could give you one. Or if you run into a Matco, Snap-on, Mack truck, usually these guys will either give them away for free or for $1 or $2, maybe $3. You end up with one of these, and they're really lifesavers. They'll help you out a lot on taking apart electrical connectors. These are lifesavers. This is really the one tool that can almost do it all. When I was a mechanic, I ended up having a crap ton of these. So, and you can even buy them off Amazon. I think they even sell them in bulk packs on Amazon. I don't know why anybody would need more than 3 or 4. Now, if they're not wrenching every day, unless you plan on losing these like every time you pull one out. But good tool to have. Anyways, hopefully that helps you out if you do a valve guide seal job on your Miata cylinder head. If it helped you out, leave me a like or whatever, and I'll have more videos to come soon as I find some more tips and tricks to save you guys some time while working on your Miata engines, or if you're into Mopar stuff, there's plenty of that still coming up. Shortly in the future, we're going to be putting a fuel cell in a Dodge Dakota. For the whole 3 people out there in the world that have decided to modify those trucks besides me, you may or may not like that. Anyways, we'll catch you later.